Okay guys, just quickly then, because it is getting really dark now. My birth plan. Well, because no one knows what's happening, because they've messed me about so much in this pregnancy, and because they keep changing their minds, I don't really have a set in stone birth plan. But this is as easy as I can explain it, as quickly as I can explain it. Anyway, so let's just say that they were going to let me have a cesarean. Then they decided they wouldn't let me have a cesarean because they didn't see that there was enough wrong with me in terms of complications that warranted a surgery. Plus, I was, and still am, quite dangerously anemic. So a cesarean is off the cards now. Then they said they were going to induce me early at a maximum of 38 weeks. And then they decided that doing an induction was too dangerous because of the fact that this is my 5th pregnancy, and after you've had more than 4 children, apparently your uterus is very fibrous and relaxed, and it's very, it's been stretched a lot of times, so they're worried about hemorrhaging, your uterus rupturing, and depending on the severity of the situation, I think their plan is, say if I had a uterine rupture or hemorrhage, that the baby would be delivered by cesarean, and then they would perform an emergency hysterectomy if that was the case. Please excuse my gurgling. I keep explaining in these vlogs that I'm really suffering with acid reflux today, so I keep gurgling like a piglet. Anyway, so they don't want to do an induction. So what they want is for me to have this baby as naturally as possible, but as I've explained in other vlogs, that's a problem because I have complications in childbirth. I can't deliver on my own very well. Most of my births have been assisted with either ventouse or forceps delivery. I've also had very, very long labours and tend to need to be induced anyway in order to even get me dilated. My waters tend to rupture early, which means that I have to stay in hospital and have to deliver soon, but because I'm not dilating, that's a problem. I have an irritable uterus, which means that I contract all the time and having lots and lots of painful contractions, but those contractions, please excuse me, these contractions don't really tend to do very much in terms of getting my cervix dilated. So I get all the pain, all the uncomfortableness, all the misery, all the hours and time go by, and they say, oh, you're still at 2 centimetres and your cervix is really thick. And I'm like, okay. Anyway, so on top of that, I have a condition called SPD, which means that I've separated my pelvis twice now in childbirth, and there's a very high chance that I could separate my pelvis again. On top of that, because of the pain involved in that, I also have problems with the anaesthetic. I can't take epidural. Epidurals don't work on me for some reason. I mean, I've had 4 epidurals in one go before, like continuously being topped up and put back in and all this stuff, and it just wouldn't work until they did the full-on spinal anaesthetic, and so that's the only option for me. But the problem with the spinal is they tend to use them for C-sections because you can't have them for an extended amount of time. So if your labour is very, very long, you can't really have a spinal because spinal's for like short term, not long term. So yeah, on top of that, because of the length of my labours, the babies tend to get distressed. There's meconium in the waters, and then it kind of gets all panicky towards the end and maybe has to be delivered very fast. So hence why I thought it would be just ideal just to have a cesarean. There seems to be enough things there. That doesn't even mention talking about the pain of me just being, being put in stirrups when I have SPD, or having to try and stay on my back because I'm on a monitor, or because I'm on a drip, or because I'm being induced with Pitocin. That doesn't even come into it, or the fact that I have hyperemesis, which means that I constantly vomit and throw up all the way through my labours unless I'm having loads of anti-sickness injections. So yeah, add the anemia on there and all the other problems I have. It's just a whole story of nonsense, really. Anyway, so the point is, they want me to do this naturally with all of those complications. Oh my gosh, I sound like an elephant tromping. Please excuse me. I'll probably edit it out, and if I don't edit it out, then we can all just have a good laugh at my expense, because, you know, what else can I do? Can't cry about it, can I? Yeah, so I need to do this naturally. So the plan is this: if my waters go, or I start going into active labour on my own, I will continue to labour at home as much as I can. I have an appointment at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning to be induced anyway, and when I say induced, I mean to get the labour started, not necessarily in terms of what you might think being induced normally means. Anyway, so I'll try and stay at home for as long as possible if I can, bear with the pain as much as I can, unless things progress excuse me, unless things progress really, really quickly, in which case then I'll obviously have to go down. If that happens, then brilliant. Maybe I'll have a fast delivery this time. Maybe it will go brilliantly well. Fingers crossed, praying that that is the case. That, you know, with my 5th baby, she just plops out, you know, just she's done. That would be amazing. Very unlikely though, seeing as apparently she could be at least 10 pounds already. Anyway, so if I end up just going to my appointment tomorrow at 10 a.m, 11 a.m, what they're probably going to do is start me off with putting me on the monitor, taking on my obs and stats, and they're probably going to do an examination, see how I've progressed. Depending on that, they'll make their next decision. I'm assuming they'll do another stretch and sweep if I haven't made much of a progression, because that would be a more natural approach than starting induction straight away, which has all these risks. I'm assuming that this next step after that is that they will attempt to break my waters if they haven't already gone, and then it will be monitoring me and seeing how the baby copes, and then hopefully I'll go into active labour on my own from there. If I don't, then they might start a pessary, but my obstetrician was really, for some reason, I can't understand the reason why, she did say, but I didn't understand it, she was really loath to do pessaries, which is when they insert a pessary of a hormone into your cervix to try and get that to dilate. She didn't want to do that, but she did talk about inducing me in terms of putting me on the IV monitor machine, where they administer Pitocin, I think you call it in America, or oxytocin, or whatever it is they're going to use to try and get me, you know, dilating that way. Now, they've done this before successfully, but being with my 5th, like I said before, they're very, very concerned about there being dangers involved this time, so they don't really want to do that. But obviously, if it's a last resort, it's a last resort if I'm not in labour by then. They'll be monitoring the baby carefully to make sure that everything's okay. They'll be monitoring me really carefully. And what they're going to do is they're going to start off really, really slowly. So tiny, tiny amounts, really, really slowly. See how I take it, see how the baby takes it. And hopefully it'll just take a small, tinsy little amount, and that will get me going. And I suppose at any point during this time, if my waters haven't have gone, they'll try to break them. Then eventually, if I'm tolerating it, increase those levels, and hopefully that will result in me being able to give birth. And if it doesn't, and baby gets distressed, then obviously, worst case scenario, I have to have a cesarean. I mean, I would actually prefer to have a cesarean in a way, because it would take out all of this not knowing, all of this upset and danger and Please excuse the fact that it's got really, really dark all of a sudden. It's only like 5 o'clock, but it's like really, really dark. Anyway, so now I'm having a contraction and I'm gurgling still. The contraction's like tightening up all my uterus. I don't know if you can see the size of my bump. It's absolutely freaking huge. Can you see that? I don't think you can even see that in this lighting, but it's huge. But whenever I have a contraction, it's like pulling down, and then that's like making me gurgle even more. It's miserable. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of the plan. In terms of pain relief, I'm going to be using gas and air, and I will be, because I can't have the epidural, you know, if I go into labour really fast and things progress really, really fast, they might be able to give me a spinal, because that will work long enough to get the baby out, but you know, it's not going to be for a long period of time. If, however, I'm really, really slowly progressing and things aren't happening, they can't use the spinal, so they might give me a PAC monitor. I don't know, basically it's through an IV. You press a button and it gives you an amount of morphine that's delivered very, very quickly, but it's also metabolized very, very quickly. So it's a bit like gas and air in that you press it at the minute you feel a contraction. It takes about 30 seconds to peak, about 60 seconds to kind of be gone completely out of your system. And the advantage of this is that it has no effects on the baby, because you know, no one really wants to have morphine when you're having a baby, because it might affect the baby, because most of the other types of morphine are like long-term, you know, they're administered slowly over time, and this obviously has some effects on baby. But with this, you know, it's like literally like the gas and air. There's no lasting effects. You could have it, and then the minute baby's born, you know, there'd be nothing there in you. So I think that's the way we're going to go, because that way I can use that with the gas and air, so that if things get really bad, I'm planning on only using the PAC, if it's called that, the morphine button. Let's call it a morphine button for a minute. I'm only planning on using that towards the end when it comes time to push, because if I'm going to separate my pelvis again, which I've done twice now, I want to be pressing that button whilst I'm huffing on that gas and air, and I'm hoping that's all I need to use it for. But if things are terrible from beginning to end, then I might use it earlier. The only thing with that is they have to monitor you with it for the first 3 contractions, because there's kind of a dangerous risk of overdosing on it, not because of overdosing it being that it's so strong or anything, but that you might keep your finger on the button, and you know, because you might go out of it for a few seconds and then you might keep your finger on the button or press it again, but also because it happens so fast and then it's gone so fast, it can affect your breathing and like stop you from breathing. So they'll monitor me with that for the first 3 contractions, and if I'm all good with that, then I'll be able to use that as a form of pain relief. Otherwise, it looks like we're going all natural again, which is just absolutely mind-boggling to me after what happened with Danny. I can't even imagine that I would even consider, oh my goodness, excuse me, having a natural birth again after Danny, because, you know, childbirth, worst pain ever, yeah, but that is nothing. Seriously, I can do that with just gas and air or nothing, but separating your pelvis whilst pushing a baby out of your vagina, there's no, I can't even explain the pain. If you've watched my labour and delivery video with Daniel, go watch it, because you will hear the woman sounding like a gorilla being tortured to death, because you hear the moment when my pelvis is actually separating when I'm pushing him out. Anyway, guys, it's dark, it's night time, it's black, you probably can't even see my face, and I need to get my kids in the car now. They're at their cousin's house, just parked outside, and I'm gonna go and get them home, get them fed, and I will give you another update later, guys. See you later. Bye.